Okay guys, so what I wanted to do today was to actually show you a recording of this because I felt like it would be easier for me to explain and provide you with a video of this. That way if you wanted to refer back to it, it would be easier for you to see. This is a fairly complicated concept, which is why I thought it would be useful to do it this way. So what I have here is I have a video that's going to show you how to interpret the phases of the moon. And on the left side of my diagram here is the sun. Okay, this is a view. In the middle here is the Earth, right? And this represents the 8 different positions of the moon as it revolves, right? We talked about this idea of revolving around the Earth. Important thing to understand is that this is a top view. We're looking, imagine if you got into a spaceship and at the North Pole, top of the Earth, right? And you went all the way up above and you were looking down at the Earth. That's the view we're looking at here. So this is a top view, okay? On the other hand, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here. These circles represent the same positions. I'm going to label them in a minute as we go along, but they're going to be the views as if you were on Earth looking up into the sky. Okay, so the top view is up here. All right, top view, Earth view. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to imagine that we're a little person, right? And we're looking up on Earth at position, we'll start with position 8 actually here. Okay, so if I'm a little person, I'm looking up, I can only see the side of the moon that's facing me. So that means, I'm just going to change my color here for a second, I can't see this side at all, right? So that means that when I'm looking at position 8, all I'm seeing is a completely dark moon. So for the first circle, I'm going to label that, let me just change colors here, I'm going to label it 8, and I'm going to completely shade it in. Okay, and this is called a new moon. All right. So when the moon is in position for us to see a new moon, we don't actually see the moon. We're only looking at the dark side of the moon, so it's all we see. Let's jump to the next one. Now this gets a little trickier. So if my person is here this time, right, and he's looking up, I'm going to just flip the orientation for a second. There's his left hand, there's his right hand. When he looks up at the moon, okay, he's going to see only what I didn't cross out in orange, right? So he's going to see a little sliver of the right side of the moon. He's going to see less than half of the lit up or illuminated part of the moon. At position 8, he didn't see any of the illuminated part. At position 1, he's only going to see a tiny little sliver of it. So what that means is that at position 1, the right side is illuminated. Okay, so he's just going to see a tiny sliver of the right side of the moon like that. And when the right side of the moon is illuminated, this is in your notes, it's called a waxing phase. So we're going to call this a waxing crescent. Okay, because just a sliver of the moon is visible. Let's keep going. I'm going to move a little bit faster here now, just so that because you get the gist. I'm going to shade off for each one what we can't see, okay? Which is basically everything on the outside of that big orbit circle that I drew. So for each of these, I'm going to shade that off, now that you kind of understand the expectation there. And now I'm going to also draw in my person at each position, like that. Right, just so that we have a frame of reference. I find that drawing the little person really helps, just so that it's clear. Like so. And at each position, I'm also going to label his left and right hands. Now, to do this, you need to be in the same view as the person. So that means you may have to kind of rotate your paper, in my case, rotate my screen. So for example, that's his left hand, that's his right hand, left, right. It's really easy to do this on an iPad because I can just rotate the iPad around. You can do the same thing with a sheet of paper as well, though. Left, right, left, right, left, and right. Okay? So in each position, I labeled that so that it was clear to me. So in position 2, for example, the right side, let me just change my color again. A little blue. The right side of the moon is illuminated, right? But now he sees 1/2 of the right side. So when I go down to the bottom for position 2, whoops, for position 2, I'm going to draw half of the right side illuminated. I'm going to shade in the left. And this is called a first quarter. It is also considered waxing. It's just that we don't say waxing first quarter, but that wouldn't be incorrect. Okay. To position 3. Once again, the right side is illuminated, but this time we see more than half of the illuminated part. So on our drawing, we're going to draw something like this. Right? Because this is called a gibbous. We'll call that position 3. And this is a waxing gibbous. All right. We're going to continue with the same logic. Now notice, number 4 is pretty easy. You see all of the lit up part of the moon, all of the illuminated side of the moon. So that means that 4 is the easiest one. We don't have to color in anything, and 4 is a full moon. Okay, so that's simple. That's not hard at all. As we keep going, so this is, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I'm just going to label them so I don't have to keep doing that. 5, 6, 7, and 8 is done for us already. Okay, so now, if you notice, there's a change. Now it's changed. Now, instead of his right side being illuminated, or when he sees the left side of the moon lit up, I'm sorry, he sees the left side of the moon lit up. But now notice, look, he sees more than half of the left side. So that means, and on our picture here, for position, this is position 5, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to sketch it so that, whoops, we're going to sketch it so that the right side, I'm having trouble coloring this one in, the right side is in darkness and the left side is illuminated. And now, because we're looking at the moon and we're seeing the left side illuminated, we're going to say that that is a waning gibbous. Okay? And on the same, by the same logic, the left side is here is illuminated and the left side is here is illuminated. Here we're seeing half. Here we're seeing only a quarter of it. Less than half. So we're going to have, for this guy, you should kind of notice the pattern here. You're going to see this. This is called a third quarter now. Okay, I'm just going to write third quarter. Because half of it, well, it appears that from this view we see, this is what we see when we see half of the illuminated side. Okay, and then the final one, which I kind of showed you up here, you see only that little sliver. So that means that, and it's again on the left side, but this is a crescent again, but we're going to just see a crescent instead of seeing it on the right like we did before. We're going to see a waning crescent, so waning. Can't spell, let me fix that. Hold on one second. My apologies. Sometimes you run out of page on this. A waning crescent. Okay. So there are your phases of the moon. Okay. I think the one thing to remember, and this will be in the notes, but waning is when the left side is illuminated. Waxing is when the right side is illuminated. We'll talk about the timing of all this in the notes that we do for our Google Meet. But that overall is how you figure out the phases of the moon. I'm going to post this video on Google Classroom in addition to including it in our notes. That way you have it, so it's not confusing or anything. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed.